I hope you're doing really well. I'm Gary Waterman, a former UK police constable. Welcome to part 6 of my evidential research document in relation to the helicopter crash in America on the 10th of April 2025, where supposedly the Spanish CEO for Siemens passed away. I suspect that was a staged event. In the last few parts, I showed that on the very same day as the helicopter crash, prior to even knowing about it, and actually I believe it was before the helicopter crash, I was researching one of my wife's best friends, Leanne Hawksworth, because she works for Siemens in Dorset. I then showed that I'd posted a video mentioning the helicopter crash when I found out about it the next day, and that a video then popped up on my TikTok by somebody claiming to have the name of David Fishwick. And then on researching David Fishwick, he linked back into the international government fraud and all of the same companies that have been exposing. I then showed that this prompted me to research Leanne and my wife's school, which was the Twynham School in Christchurch, which is a criminal fraudulent entity company. And then going into that company, it linked to Lisa's uncle, my wife's uncle, and also then into Virgin linked companies, the Virgin Foundation. I then showed that I researched my wife's previous employee, Charles Sherwin, who was a dentist in Sherborne, which is relevant because of the links to the Qatar leader, which is where he was educated in Sherborne. And I showed that linked in then to a Treasure Island kids company and also into Virgin-related companies. And those of you that know about Richard Branson, he was the founder of the Virgin organisation, and he's been named supposedly in the court papers with Ghislaine Maxwell and child trafficking. And Virgin Atlantic itself is now either in the process of dissolving or dissolved since I've exposed the connection to the Virgin Foundation. We then went on and it made connections to the Atlas experiment, which ties in to the CERN Hadron Collider, and I'm going to do separate videos and document about that because I think it's absolutely critical in relation to all of this. On researching it then, we went into what appeared to be a company linked to the Elm Guesthouse inquiry, and within that company, scandal, which links into allegations supposedly of politicians and high-level police officers and judges being involved in not only child abuse, but also potentially murder of children, tying in with the Elm Guesthouse in London. This then linked into the United Nations, and some football companies, and here we are now at a company called Every Youth. And Every Youth here, the director, please verify and corroborate all of this information, okay? Please do not just take my word for this. You can use it as a template, follow the evidential links, follow it through Companies House, and you will see that everything I'm saying is true. So here we have the Every Youth company, and the director that we were looking at was appointed, as I'm exposing the fraud, on the 17th of November 2023. Within the company Every Youth, we have that it was incorporated on the 11th of May 2022, 2 months before I approached Anthony Roberts, who was the acting chairman for Exbourne Manor Freehold Limited, which then triggered all of these inquiries. On the incorporation document for the company, we have Eversheds. Those that follow my evidence will know they feature throughout the fraud, and they appear to be associated closely to the police connection in all of this fraud, okay? Because unfortunately the police are heavily implicated, and it does appear as though the police, or the Association of Chief Police Officers, was set up specifically around this, and very likely the police themselves as an organisation was set up to protect this system of fraud, whether these police officers really realise that or not. And I'm hoping there's going to be some innocent ones, but nobody seems to be coming forward. And in fact, many of my previous colleagues appear to be blocking me and ignoring the evidence, which is not a good sign. So in the Every Youth company on the right, you can see that the director we were looking at was appointed in November 23 as it was being exposed. And the director links to carers worldwide. Now, bearing in mind we're talking about international child trafficking and also child trafficking through the care process, okay, that the government has in place through social services, etc. And other information suggests that there's forgery within the legal court processes surrounding those children being taken from families. And here we have carers worldwide. This company was incorporated in May 2012. 2 months before, less than 2 months before, the God particle was supposedly created by the Hadron Collider, which we're going to come to in another document. And on the incorporation document, it appears to be forged. Okay, one section of it here on page, you can see the page numbers at the bottom, 17 of 36. It looks as though it had potentially council. You can just see it looks like CIL, where they've removed the rest of it. And you can see the other sections here where the lines are missing. This is a template document, so those lines should be there. They've removed information deliberately, very likely as the fraud is being exposed. This is on the Carers Worldwide document, everybody. So this is very important. Now, further down on the document, you have a name of Anil Kumar Patil of Carers Worldwide. Anil Kumar Patil. If you search that name within Companies House on the left, it comes up with another record, okay? There's 2 records with the same name. Now, remember, this is what Companies House, our own government, control Companies House, this is what they're doing. They're creating duplicate records. It's very clear, sometimes within the same company, so they'll know they're creating duplicate records. But here we have another record, and we have Dr. Anil Kumar Patil. And we're looking in the record here. 2 companies. We can look at the first one first. And look when he was born, or they were born, at 1971. Those that follow my evidence will know that they're using that as the date of birth for many of those key individuals in relation to this fraud. This includes Julian Assange and many, many others. So it connects to Basic Needs Trustee Limited. Let's have a look at that company. Basic Needs Trustee on the incorporation document. The London Law Agency, okay? The second most important company I would suggest in the fraud, started in 1967, the year after the Church of Satan was founded, and that company is now dissolved, either dissolved or dissolving, since I've exposed it, and it's a criminal, fraudulent entity company, the London Law Agency. Go and check it out. It's London Law Agency in brackets, the look on the incorporation document, it's actually got Ganvilon Motors. It's never been registered legally and lawfully, should never ever have been allowed to trade, and the illegality continues through all of these documents. So this is a criminal company we're looking at here, fraudulent, and they will know, the government will know that, Companies House will know that. Within Basic Needs, we have William Godfrey, interesting date of birth, 1947. The same year or year before, I'm not too sure without looking, as the Association of Chief Constables organisation started, and it's the same year that the United Nations signed a petition which led to the Israel-Arab War in 1948, which is all tied in to what we're seeing. That director links to a football club, and they were appointed before the World Trade Center disaster in 1999, and then resigned not long after it in May 2002. Within the Basic Needs company, Roger Avon connects to Contessa, company called Contessa. I haven't highlighted this actually, I forgot, but you can see it dissolved in June 2023, even though it was incorporated in 2004. Within Contessa, we have Lillian Avon, and she's got an address in Bournemouth. Okay, remember, this is where this all started for me, in Bournemouth. Okay, where Exbourne Manor is based, and the links to the Flemings that's been established. Key family in relation to all of this. All of the world's problems appear to go back and link into the Fleming family. Now, your date of birth here, you can see 1965, the year before the Church of Satan, and the year that the most important company in this fraud, Jordans and Sons, was incorporated on Companies House. And here we have that director links to Bournemouth Literary Library. So we have a link to a Bournemouth company. We've already got the Bournemouth address. And they also link to Spectrum Premier Homes Limited. And Spectrum Premier Homes are very important because they connect to a company called Sovereign. And in fact, when I was working in the police, particularly in Christchurch, which we'll come to in a minute, I was actually working with employees from that organisation because they were dealing with many of the properties, I would suggest, in the area. So, of course, if there was a tenant that was involved in any criminal activity, I'd liaise with the housing officers. So here's Spectrum Premier Homes Limited. It had already cropped up in the research surrounding Bournemouth, Christchurch and Poole Council, no surprise, and linked into the fraud. Where's it gone? And you can see on the previous company names. Let's have a quick look at that if it's loading up. This sometimes happens when it's right. Is it going to let me zoom in? No. Yeah. Western Challenge Services Limited. Okay, and they changed their company name. So they started the company in 1994, which is quite likely going to be relevant in relation to the Stargate movie that came out in 1994. Okay, on my birthday. So 1994, but also it changed its name on the 11th of July 2012, where the God particle was supposedly created on the 4th of July 2012. And on the incorporation document for it, we have an address in Ferndown, which is not far away at all, a few miles away from Exmoor Manor. And also you have Lester Aldridge, which is a legal firm that features very closely throughout the research surrounding the management companies in the Bournemouth Exmoor Manor sort of research area, if you like, around Exmoor Manor, Freehold Limited. And then on the bottom left there, you can see Jordans and Sons Limited again, all right, the company that started in 1965, before the year before the Church of Satan, a criminal organisation. Further down on the document, we have, just showing this because we've got various other addresses in the area of Dorset, one in New Milton. They've used various addresses in New Milton. But this director, Thomas McEwen Telfer, according to this, links to Leicester Build Housing Association. Leicester. Okay, now Leicester is where Madeleine McCann's parents live. Okay, and this all ties in very, very closely. The research links almost immediately from the research surrounding Madeleine McCann to Exmoor Manor Freehold Limited. Bearing in mind there's over 5 million registered companies, the research surrounding the World Trade Center disaster links immediately to Exmoor Manor Freehold Limited, okay, as well, as shown throughout the research that I've got in the documents. Now, they've got a company here at the bottom linking into Rivoli Number 1 Management, it says there. That has featured, as I've said, because I've featured this in the research surrounding BCP, I believe. But it's interesting, when you research that company and go in there, all of the directors are from the same road. Right? I think there's 2 roads and they've just used multiple addresses. I suspect that they are just making these addresses up. It's possible that all of the people in the road are owners or directors of companies, but the same director we were looking at, this Roger person, links to another Spectrum Property Ventures Limited, and they dissolved as I was exposing the fraud on the 26th of December 2023, and they're based in, according to that, in Hampshire. Now, on the incorporation document for this company, we have an address that I'm just going to show because it becomes relevant. Spinnaker House, Grange Road in Christchurch, okay? That Grange Road is in the area where I was the local beat bobby for the police when I transferred from Bournemouth Police to Christchurch in, I think it was 2010. On the incorporation document, again, you can see the address, Spinnaker House, Grange Road, Christchurch. And you've got the mention of Western Challenge Housing Association, which popped up a minute ago as a previous name. Again, just to show it, here we have also Devonshire Solicitors. Now, I haven't shown it on here, but that has featured in the fraud. Okay, now all solicitors are centralised, everybody, okay? They're all part of this international government fraud, all right? Every single solicitor I've looked at is centralised. And what I mean by that is you might go into a company, and there was one, I think it was Avon and Somerset, that had many, many directors. You go into each director, and many of the directors were linked to a solicitor. Okay, so they have a financial and legal connection, all centralised together as part of this international government fraud. And that is how they have kept it going for so long, because the legal system is set up around it. Even one of my best friends' wife, Emma Ailing, is linked very, very quickly to one of the key companies, Ingenious Film Partners, to LLP. That is the same company, exactly the same company, on the Prince and Princess of Wales Foundation. And I've got a document in relation to that. So that address, Spinnaker House, in one of the last parts of the video, I mentioned BAE Systems, and literally on Google Maps, when you search Spinnaker House, okay, Grange Road, Christchurch, it comes up with SNG Sovereign Group, Sovereign Network Group, but look at the address below it, BAE Systems Digital Intelligence. Okay, those of you who follow my evidence will know how important that company is. BAE Systems is the largest defence contractor for the United Kingdom. Now, I suspect much of the equipment and the contracts they say take place are a deception to defraud the public in relation to the taxation system. Okay, another good, my belief, example of this is the Typhoon jets, okay, that supposedly David Cameron was involved in supplying to, I think it was Saudi Arabia, a few years ago. And as I was looking into and finding connections to the Typhoon jets tying into the fraud, suddenly they stopped supplying the Typhoon jets. So a lot of what we're seeing is deception in relation to the conflicts around the world, the supply of equipment, etc. Much of it is probably not even real. Okay, and they're just portraying that to the public and making you believe there's a threat of war, so that you buy into having to pay more tax. Okay, this is a huge part of their criminal deception against humanity, huge part. And as I've said before, I am absolutely certain this is a collaborative deception. A case of Vladimir Putin is actually working with Ukraine, with the Flemings, with the royal family, with UK government, and with the US, all collaboratively working together to deceive humanity. It's obvious now. Okay, Donald Trump's part of it as well, everybody. All right, you've got to remember this is worth trillions of pounds to them in defrauded money in tax, all right, to pay for their properties all over the world, their sex parties, their yachts, their everything in their life, not just theirs, but all of their families, all of their friends. Okay, it's all being funded through crime on the masses, defrauding the masses. So searching just to show you the area and how positioned I am divinely in relation to this, I believe, because there's no other explanation to me. So where I worked was in an area called the Somerford Estate in Christchurch. After I moved from Bournemouth Police to Christchurch, I became the local beat bobby for the Somerford Estate. And without even realising, there was a park there called Waterman's Park. I had no idea until I started working there. Okay, so it's quite a big park, the biggest park there in that estate, and it's called Waterman's Park. And I've just shown on the map here where Waterman's Park is, where the red marker is, and where SNG is, the Sovereign Network company we were just connecting, which was right near the BAE Systems Intelligence, according to Google Maps there. So I just want to show how all this ties in very significantly in relation to everything. Now, looking at this Sovereign Group, I'd already looked at this before, but I just want to show it again. So here on the left, this is looking on their website. SNG Sovereign Network Group was formed in 2023. Okay, so it looks as though, as I'm exposing the fraud, they thought, right, let's change the company name, let's merge it, let's remove that accountability and liability for whatever they may have been part of. And it says this was following the merger of Network Homes and Sovereign Housing Association, but they're a lot older than that. So this is their website, and it says Brent, which was part of them, was our original borough in London. We started life in February 1974. So this is 3 years before the World Economic Forum started, which is very important. And as you go down here, you can see how they expanded in 2000, then in 2007, and then in 2005. I'm just showing you that Twynham is linked to Sovereign because it becomes relevant to what we're talking about. So remember, right back at the beginning of the document, I showed that I was researching one of my wife's best friend, Leanne Hawksworth, because she works for Siemens in Dorset. Well, her husband, Andrew Hawksworth, works for Sovereign. And here's Andrew. And I didn't realise this. Sorry, the page jumped around there. I didn't realise this at the time, but oh my goodness, he started work for them in 2022. I didn't realise that. Okay, so he started working for them. Now, I'm not saying he's involved or Leanne's involved in any criminal activity, but they now know what they're part of, and they've had the evidence. And here is the correspondence between myself and Leanne and Andy, and these are nice, good people supposedly. They're fully aware now that this is linked to international child trafficking. From the evidence, international crimes against humanity, and Leanne, it appears, blocked me as a contact. Here you can see 28th September 2024, 2 ticks in the box there. This is on WhatsApp, and then the next box, 1 tick, suggesting she'll either block me or just refuse to then read any of them, because they've all got 1 tick from that point on. And Andy, here you can see 21st of December 2024, 2 ticks, and then 1 tick on the 21st of December 2024. Now, everybody that's knowingly part of this really does need to stand up to this now. Okay, we must unite over this, and you will see we're at a critical time, particularly in relation to the Hadron Collider. Okay, and we're going to talk about that. So that was page 100, and this is page 1 of the document, and you can see I was researching Leanne Hawksworth. You can see the search history there, 10th of April 2025. It's shame it doesn't have the time, and it just showed the research and Leanne working for Siemens. Back to page 100. So going into the second company with Anil Kumar. Remember, there was 2 companies. Okay, this was where they'd created a duplicate record coming in from the carers worldwide. This is the other company now linking to that second director entry, and it's Disability and Development Partners. And on the right, Kamala within that company connects to British Overseas NGOs for Development, in brackets, Bond. Let's have a look at these companies. On the incorporation document address they use throughout the fraud, there's several that they use frequently and just change the numbers. Gray's Inn Road is one of them. And further down, you can see Christian links. Okay, so this is one of the directors, Jennifer Borden. Interesting previous name, Treasure. Previous surname of Treasure. I've never heard of anyone with the surname Treasure, but who am I to say whether that's true or not? And here you can see Christian Aid, that features throughout the fraud, British and Irish Churches Trust, and Crown Agents Foundation Council. We'll come to that in a minute. Bearing in mind, the royal family and the Crown are massively implicated in relation to these crimes against humanity. And in the British Overseas Company on the left, you can see this person. They were appointed in 2023, and interestingly, British Palestinian. I just found that interesting. And on the right, they're linked to the Association of Chief Executives of Voluntary Organisations, which suggests there's a connection to charities there, which therefore, again, the Freemasons heavily involved in supposedly charities, but all of them that I've seen are linked to what appears to be a false fraudulent front, criminal entity fraudulent front to launder taxpayers' contributions and criminally obtained money defrauded from victims through those organisations. On the left, within the British Overseas Company, Kirsty Smith, appointed in November 2024. Look, they link to Forgotten Children UK Limited. Forgotten Children. Now, even the missing person record companies or missing person companies, okay, that I've shown on other documents are part of the fraud. This means they're able to falsify and hide people that go missing, the figures, the true numbers. It means they're able to very likely make many people disappear or go missing and falsify the figures, okay, to make it not look so bad, or vice versa. Now, this company dissolved in 2023 as I'm exposing it and the fraud, and there you go, it started in 2005. And on its incorporation document, you have at UK PLC, the exact same company that links to the current managing agent who's involved in the international government fraud, Property Solutions Southern Limited. Go and look on Export Manor Freehold Limited. Look on the people record. You'll see Property Solutions Southern Limited. go into their filing history, look at the incorporation document, you'll see at UK PLC Client Director Limited, exactly the same company. And since that company has been exposed, that has now dissolved at UK PLC Client Director Limited. Okay, it dissolved in 2023, and it actually started, I think it was February 2002. So not long after the World Trade Center disaster, which is all connected. Okay, this is, without a shadow of a doubt, that is a deliberate attack against their own people, probably partly a satanic attack, but to lead to full digital currency control, oil control, and potentially the incident that or potential event that I'm going to talk about regarding the Hadron Collider. So they link to same director, CBM, Blind and Mission Christian Blind Mission, EV, unusual name. Now, I do suspect they were planning on, and very well may likely still be doing it, gradually increasing suffering to humanity deliberately. And one of those things, I believe, is through making people go blind deliberately via the cell towers, okay, and the radiation from them. So my advice is that the cell towers must be disabled. On the right, within the British Overseas Company, Anthony Bennett, links to this company. It's got a big name, Accord. Let's just call it Accord. But you can see half of it's English and half of it appears to be French. Remember, this is international fraud. France is also involved in this, okay? And that company is now in the process of liquidation, as I've been exposing it all. And that's a fairly old company, 1981. And suddenly they're now dissolving as the exposure continues. On the incorporation document for them, if it allows me to zoom in, Clifford Turner, that links to the international child trafficking. And what I say by that, what I mean by that is it links to key individuals. So Max Clifford then links in obviously to Jeffrey Epstein, and you're going to see some connections to Jeffrey Epstein in a minute. Now, this director within the British Overseas, so all we're doing is going back into that company and looking at the directors. Okay, Nicholas Roosevelt. Roosevelt links to the Diana, Princess of Wales Memorial Fund Trustee Company. All right. It's very important. The actual Prince and Princess of Wales Foundation Company is so important because of page 40 of their incorporation document. You'll see a page of companies, and there's key companies on there that link into everything, including proving the connection between the international collaborative deception between Russia, Ukraine, Flemings, royal family, America, England, and it's even got China mentioned within it. They're all working against humanity, everybody, all right? And also that ties in very importantly to what I believe is the threat from directed energy in relation to the cell towers, but also in relation to the Hadron Colliders that we're going to talk about. So within the British Overseas Company on the right, Christine Allen connects to Disasters Emergency Committee. All right, so this is all part of the fraud. So this is, they can manufacture disasters, especially now with artificial intelligence and the ability to portray things happening that might not even be real in other locations, for example, to make you believe they're going on. This is all part of the fraud, okay? It maintains the fear over humanity. I had people connected to the fraud trying to get me to believe there was going to be an apocalyptic event, end of the world event. And it maintains that control and fear. And of course, they want you to then turn to the government to provide answers for these things. And then again, that makes you feel better about paying more, doesn't it? And then they defraud you more from it. You see, it's completely evil what they're doing. It really is. There's no moral conscience. Moral conscience is absolutely essential to maintain fulfillment, I would say, both spiritually, if you're that way inclined, or if not, just your enlightenment and your fulfillment in yourself. Okay, they've removed that deliberately because it helps them keep control, but also we've got a satanic connection, don't forget, here with all of this now. So they want the suffering, it appears. Okay. And suffering comes when you remove moral conscience, because we are meant to be beings, humans. We're meant to think of what is right and wrong in how we act and what we do. Okay, that's what love is. That's what caring is. That's what consideration is. Okay, they want that gone because it will bring evil and hell on earth, And these people are, I mean, I'm not even angry at them. It's quite ironic, really. But I mean, I just feel completely saddened by all of this, very disappointed, and very, very sorry for these people that are part of this. But they're also linked to the climate movement. Now, this ties in, and I think I've got some more evidence later, actually, when we come on to the other parts, with the tying in with the green movement of Iran and infiltration, it appears, of the Muslim faith by the satanic cult, potentially infiltrated by the Pharaoh bloodline, Egyptian bloodline. Okay, so this is all tying in with what we're seeing with the immigration. It ties in with the green climate change movement. Okay, Greenpeace, Green Party, and then Green Movement, which started in 2009, the same year that the Prince and Princess of Wales Foundation Company was started. Okay, all right. I'm going to be doing more information on that. But anyway, come back, please, for the next part. Thanks very much. Bye.